hope to any human being. It is something a government can dangle in front of people and make them want it until they can grasp it in their hands. It is something the government can also rip away, which makes people want it even more. The Four Freedoms speech truly gave people the hope they were looking for. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also known as FDR, created a vision for people all over the world. He gave people the hope they'd been longing for in the tough times of World War II by explaining the freedom that they deserve. Many great speeches have been given in time of world conflict or war. One of those great speeches was the Four Freedoms speech. FDR was born on January 30th, 1882, and was 58 years old when he gave this speech. He grew up in a very wealthy family, and he started working in politics for the Democratic Party as a young adult. He married Eleanor Roosevelt, and they had 6 children in total. He became the 32nd president of the U.S. at the end of the Great Depression in 1933 through World War II in 1945, where he died in office of a cerebral hemorrhage. FDR gave this speech to Congress at the U.S. Capitol in Washington, D.C. on January 6, 1941, about 11 months before the U.S. entered World War II. Now I'm going to play a clip of this speech.
Future days, as we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential human freedoms. The first is freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. The second is freedom of every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. The third is freedom from want, which translated into world terms means economic understanding which will secure to every nation a healthy, peacetime life for its inhabitants everywhere in the world. The fourth is freedom from fear, which translated into world terms means a worldwide reduction of armaments to such a point and in such a thorough fashion that no nation will be in a position to commit an act of physical aggression against any neighbor anywhere in the world. That is no vision of a distant millennium. It is a definite basis for a kind of world attainable in our own time and generation.
FDR gave this speech to inform citizens all over the world of the freedoms they deserve, no matter what country a person lives in. He wanted to persuade world leaders to give their citizens the same freedom that people in the U.S. have. He wanted to persuade U.S. citizens and government leaders to abandon the isolationist policies so that the U.S. could go help those fighting in World War II. This speech was significant 77 years ago when it was given, and has remained significant till this day. After World War II, countries all over the world started granting people the freedom they deserve. Freedom of religion was especially significant after World War II for those that were Jewish. The vision this speech created for people was one of the most powerful visions in the world. Now countries are continuing these freedoms and have realized how important freedom is. Freedom continues to create hope for people now who might have a harder time being successful in life. The Four Freedoms speech will continue to endure because people want to keep the four freedoms listed in this speech. People want to have freedom of speech and religion and freedom from fear and war. It endures because many country leaders today believe in freedom rights for their citizens. It will endure because people don't want to make past mistakes such as wars or genocides. FDR uses a great deal of ethos, pathos, and logos in his speech. For ethos, he says, "Therefore, as your president, performing my constitutional duty to give to the Congress information of the state of the Union, I find it, unhappily, necessary to report that the future and the safety of our country and of our democracy are overwhelmingly involved in events far beyond our borders. He's being fair and honest with the U.S. citizens, and he is knowledgeable about what needs to happen with the U.S. He also uses pathos. As a nation, we may take pride in the fact that we are soft-hearted, but we cannot afford to be soft-hearted. We must always be wary of those who, with sounding brass and a tinkling cymbal, preach the ism of appeasement. We must especially beware of that small group of selfish men who would clip the wings of the American eagle in order to feather their own nests. He appeals to emotions by using a simile, and by using many details and emotional words such as soft-hearted. He also uses logos. Every realist knows that the democratic way of life is at this moment being directly assailed in every part of the world, assailed either by arms or by secret spreading of poisonous propaganda by those who seek to destroy unity and promote discord in nations that are still at peace. He is being logical and very honest with what he says. He used evidence to provide why the democratic way of life is being assailed. He also uses many rhetorical devices, but there are two main ones that he used quite a bit. An anaphora that he uses, that is why the future of all the American republics is today in serious danger. That is why this annual message to the Congress is unique in our history. That is why every member of the executive branch of the government and every member of the Congress faces great responsibility and great accountability. The other rhetorical device he uses is alliteration. We are ahead of schedule in building warships, but we are working to get even further ahead of that schedule. These rhetorical devices really help to bring in his audience and to want people to listen. The Four Freedoms speech was the nudge people all around the world needed to believe that they could have the same freedoms that people in the U.S. could have. FDR's use of rhetorical devices, slow talking, and enthusiasm were great persuasive techniques to draw the listeners in. These techniques gave people hope during the trying times of World War II. This speech helped make the world a better place. Thank you for listening.